Balei Tshuva will take what they can get.
100%.
Tiago, the cover Rosh Chodesh. I was thought of you on the way home from Dr. Green, and I ran into Gourmet Glutton and picked myself up some meat, and I'm having it right now.
Oh yeah, why don't you share the wealth?
Yeah, we'll see. I got 2 teenagers now.
Doesn't cost anything, huh?
You get the money back, man. That's it. All right. I see the islands in the middle of Rosh Chodesh Sudas. What it seems. Yeah, what are we on Lamed today, right?
You put out that tweet about giving tzedakah that to make the shlah's thing work because of the Kol B'Kol Baruch. His campaign is running.
Nothing to do with it. It's just when everybody's busy with the easy part of the school and they leave the hard part alone, it's a little bit funny. That's all.
Yeah.
And he writes it himself, the shlah.
But people fail to mention that.
Yeah. Nobody forwarded me today. Don't forget to fast or to give tzedakah.
It happens to be
the skula to give tzedakah today or any.
Oh my gosh. The
you
art
get the
scroll.
tweets, Naftali?
Too late.
Naftali, maybe you'll make Rabbeinu Tom's go throw money in the pushka in your house.
Too late. Tzedakah doesn't work anymore.
That happens to be the art scroll put out a thing.
Naftali, quick,
COVID
sell me the money. Sell me the money, Naftali. Sell me the money, quick.
They wrote tzedakah, but they didn't write fast.
Give a backdated check.
It's very good. It's not 72 minutes yet, though. It's not 72. So you could
Shine Tiago, base Esther.
You didn't answer the question.
For a sponsor to the Kiddush.
Naftali, read the tweet.
You saw today's tweet?
No, he's reading it now. You see, he's reading it now.
So can I fast for the next 22 minutes?
Why not? It's an easy.
I was going to anyway.
Yeah.
David, you're out of freeze pops? No more freeze pops?
No, I did not see today's tweet thing
I shouldn't buy them
until
anymore.
just now.
Wonderful.
My wife told me that I can't
another
buy them
time.
anymore.
Another
So I
time you did it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was in the Bronx. I wasn't learning today.
Okay, we ready? All right. So that klal, Hayy Mikdash, right? So the klal and the mikva on the bottom. Sorry, we're on the bottom of Chav Tes Amud Beis, right? That's we said 2 lines up from the bottom. So we said the rule in the Beis Hamikdash was that if you went to the bathroom Gedolim, you had to go to the mikvah. If you went to the bathroom Ketanim, then you had to wash your hands and your feet, right? Yeah, so bishlam ragalayim mishum nitzaitzis. So we understand why you have to wash the feet because there's literally nitzaitzis means sparks, right? But little drops of urine can get on the feet. Eliyadayim my time. But the hands, why? Why do you have to wash the hands? So what it means to say. Now we're on Tamid Aleph, mitzvah l'shavshev. It's a mitzvah to rub off any or scrub off any drops of urine. Why? Because like Rashi says, otherwise it's going to look like you have something wrong with your aver, and that's why the urine's getting all over the place. And it's gonna. And then if you have children, then they're gonna say that the children are mamzerim because you couldn't have kids. There's a krus shavcha, can't have kids. Yeah. So that's why there's a mitzvah to be mishafshav. So obviously, another thing to be learning out from this is that it says the word mitzvah. I mean, what's the mitzvah? Is this one of the 613? Right? It's not. It's not even. I don't even think it's a derabbanan. Maybe it's a derabbanan. Whatever. It's even if it is a derabbanan, it's called a mitzvah. I don't think it would have the status of a derabbanan. Right?
Isn't that a bit far fetched that they're going to say he has mamzerim?
You just remember we're talking about the Chevra in the Beis Hamikdash who think that every guy that goes in there is a crook, right? And it seems right. We said it already. Right? It seems like choshev b'ksherim is not part of the equation. I don't know. You're right. Why should you be choshev a guy like that? Right?
I mean, we would never think something like that if somebody's pants were wet.
Right. That's not what you would think.
It's hard to imagine going that far.
Correct. Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And the Chanami, it's very interesting. It's very interesting.
Maybe a taka is a mitzvah. Deraisa.
What? For Yisim Nikiyah?
No, al svavtul reach kamoicha and your kids. Yeah, if someone was to call him a mamzer.
This is the biggest choshev b'kshem I ever saw in my life, and you're doing mal after reacting.
What shaykhus?
This yid was
If
like
someone called,
he has 10 children can hardly look exactly like him. They line him up in Cheder. They look exactly like him, B'li Ayin Hara. And all of a sudden they say, "Oh, your wife was Mizana with 14 Puerto Ricans." Well, what is it talking about?
I said, I'm not going to talk about anyone in particular, but I do know certain people that if their kids were called mamzerim, it would bother their kids. It's not a nice thing to call a kid.
Probably would ruin the shidduch prospects also.
Doesn't the
I don't know
Gemara
shidduch or nothing. You called someone a name. It's awesome to call someone a name. Shulchan
You know,
Aruch is the only name it's butcher to call someone is a mamzer, because of course no one means it. In this case, he does mean it.
Who knows if they'd get into yeshiva?
No, but what do you call it? Doesn't the Gemara in Kedushin say that if you call somebody a mamzer, what's the Gemara in Kedushin say? Right?
He's patur. It's not usher.
Right.
The Shulchan Aruch Pasuk is that way. The reason being because a mamzer is the only thing that a person obviously doesn't mean. Any other name is usher because the person would take offense because he means it. A mamzer he doesn't mean. In this case, he would mean it. It's the same issue.
Right.
I don't know.
Okay, whatever it is, it's still a far-fetched thing. Still a mice, it's a far-fetched thing. Right? So if you say it's like a gzeir de rabbanon, right? So sometimes you say, okay, the rabbanon made a gzeir, but this doesn't sound like a gzeir. It just says you.
Here, so he brings the Marat Tzchias here.
Yeah.
Proves from here that a rabbinic decree may at times be referred to as a mitzvah.
Oh, but he's calling this a rabbinic decree.
He said that's the footnote on this a mitzvah. He says is a rabbinic decree.
Interesting. Okay, I didn't learn this. That this is a rabbinic decree. It's a decree that you have to, right? Okay, whatever it is. Fine. Okay, so Masayeh Rav Ami. This is a proof to Rav Ami. Domer Rav Ami. Also, Lodam Shiyotz ben Itzaitis Shal Gabi Raglov. It's also for a person to go out with any urine on his feet. And they're going to be moti laz on the kids that they're mamzerim. That's another interesting thing. That it's not. It's your moti laz on the kids. Your moti laz on the parents. No.
Why? The kids are the ones that can't go into Klal Yisrael. The parents are in Klal Yisrael already. If you're saying that the kid's a mamzer, that's the problem. The kid has the issues.
Right. Yeah. I don't know, but the kid has the issues, but who's the one that did the thing wrong?
It's still, what's the kid's fault? That he's a mamzer. If the parents have issues. If the parents have relations, illicit relations, why are you taking it out on the kid? Kid has the issues. He can't come into Klal Yisrael.
Right. I hear you. But there's a bigger chiddush in the Taisus Yishanim here. It's that he brings the shitas that after urinating you don't have to say Asher Yotza. There's shitas in the Rishonim, brought by the Taisus Yishanim, that you don't, after urinating you don't say Asher Yotza. Right? Just an interesting fact. But okay,
we don't paskin like that.
No, we don't. No, we don't paskin like that. Yeah. Fine. Somewhere Papa. Tsoya b'mekayma also likras kriyishma. If there's tsoya, this is a Gemara that has caused lots of nebuch, lots of OCD amongst usually men, right? But tsoya in the makam where it comes out, you're not allowed to read kriyishma, right? As opposed to if it's in other parts of the right. So let's see. Then what's the case? The nearest, if you can see it, pshita, it's pashut. Of course you can't. Right? Nobody's allowed to be within 4 amas of anything that needs to go to bed that smells. Right? Either loineris, and if you can't see it, the Torah Malachi Yasharis, the Torah wasn't given to Malachi Yasharis. Right? So if he doesn't see it, so what are you going to make him a sugar? So like tzricha, now we're talking about the yoshev and niris. When he sits down, then you can see the waist. But if he stands up, then you can't see it. So that's what we're saying, that you would not be able, in that situation, you would not be able to daven. Right? Right. Mishna mitzayah absara.
Didn't we have in the Gemara that the chazan was lower or higher?
Lower.
Lower. So
What about it?
I'm just trying to figure out how physically it's possible to see.
No, I don't think it means. I think it means if it's possible to be seen. I don't think
visible. It's visible.
What about a dirty diaper?
Oh, so a dirty diaper. If it's in a bag.
If the kohen's wearing a dirty diaper, he's got other issues.
Not a kohen. No.
So if it's closed up, then it's okay.
So a kid that has let's say there's a baby that has a dirty diaper there, so you're allowed to say Kriya Shema.
Right. No, if it's got to be in a box or whatever.
But the kid's wearing it.
Oh, if the kid's wearing it, no. Then you can't. Then you can't.
So
Right. Agrada, somebody just asked this to me about an hour ago. He was davening where something smelled bad, but it was in a box and it still smelled, even though it was in the box. So should he daven again? Should he not daven again? I forgot that it's going to be today's daf. But I told him to daven at tevilas and the dava. I don't know if I was right, but that's anyways. Okay, so Mishna mitzayah b'sarei. Why is this any different than tsoya, than excrement on his basar? The itmar tsoya b'sarei. If he has tsoya on his basar, or he just sticks his hands into the bathroom. Right? Meaning for some reason he has his hands sticking into a bathroom. He's not allowed to. Rav Huna Amar, let's see. Rav Huna Amar, Mutar Likras Kriya Shema. Rav Huna says it's Mutar. Rav Chisda Amar also Likras Kriya Shema. He's not allowed to read Kriya Shema. Right? So why is this different than that? Meaning, this kasha, it's an interesting kasha, because that means what Rav Papa just said is going against both of these shitas. Right? So meaning, because the Rashi says that the pshat is that really, why do you have to go? You really have to go to the bathroom before you daven. Why? We had this in the Monday night share a couple of weeks ago, because it says kolatz my side tamarna. All my insides are going to be davening, right? So it sounds like kol atzmoisai is only a problem in the inside, not on the outside. All right, so it's a kasha. So why is he's asering if the waist is by the opening where it's meant to be? Why is that only a problem? So the answers over there. It's much worse. The smell is much worse. But if it's not in Mekayma, so it's not so bad. And that's why Rav Huna and Rav Chisda have a machlokes over whether you're allowed to daven like that. Right? But if it's in the makam harei, as it's called, then according to everybody, it's too much smell in order to be able to daven. Yeah, fine. So that's that. So Tana Rabbanan, right? Halcha b'suda. If somebody is, halacha b'suda. The halacha by suda is as follows: Adam yoytze lahashtin mayim. If a person goes out to urinate, fairly common occurrence during a suda, you go out to the bathroom to urinate. Nota yadoi achas v'nichnas. He washes one hand and he comes back, right? Because he only uses whatever hand got dirty, so then that's the hand that he does. Even though in the Beis Hamikdash, Rashi says he had to wash both hands anyways, because of it's a chumrah of the Beis Hamikdash. Right? Diber im chaveroi v'hiflik. Let's say he was talking to his friend, and his friend came to the door, and then he was hanging out with his friend on the outside, and then he came back into the meal a half hour later. Right? So now that's a hefsek in his hands, meaning the Velt makes a mistake. They think that the only time you're not allowed you have to not be careful with your hands is before you make hamoitzi. Once you make hamoitzi, it's a free for all. It's not. You still have to be careful with your hands. So if you're sitting by the meal, most people don't touch, the dirty or normally covered parts of their body when they're eating a meal. But if this guy gets up to schmooze, so then we're afraid that he's going to forget about his hands, right? So
it depends if the guy's eating supper with just in a wife beater,
I guess that's true. Yeah, I guess, yeah. Or in the summer at a barbecue or something, right? Yeah. So if he goes out and hangs out with his friends, so he washes both his hands, and he comes out, and then he comes in. And here we go, another chayshah b'ksheir. When he washes his hands, because he shouldn't wash his hands outside of the dining room, because they're going to be chayshid. Everybody's going to be chayshid that he didn't wash his hands again, right?
What's the chashash over here?
That
he has a chadas. He has to start. He has to make a bracha again. Why would anyone think that he didn't wash before hamoitzi?
I have no idea. Why is it anybody's business either? Saying so he didn't wash. So why should you think he didn't wash?
No, it's a chazaka that a person doesn't know where his hands go. That's a halakha already. Everyone knows that.
No, but I'm saying, but why? See, it must be, the only way I could understand this, it must be that they had the sinks in their dining rooms. Otherwise, what would be the chashash? Right? Meaning, again, he goes out to schmooze, comes back in, we say he has to wash his hands, but make sure you wash your hands in the dining room. Otherwise, everybody's going to think that you didn't wash your hands. Well, in the way many people have, where we go wash our hands in the kitchen, even halachot, it is those fancy houses that do have sinks in the dining room. La halacha. If there's ever an amenity that you should put into your house that's oiskahan la halacha, that's one of them, right? So, okay. So again, we're chayshid. Ela nichnas v'yoshev b'mekayim v'noit l'shtei yadav. He should sit down in his place and wash both hands. Umachzor tefiach ala archen, and then he should pass the water around. Hey, so that's one thing, right? So good, so he washes his hands, but now he has to do another step. He has to make sure to pass the water to the archen, right?
People are going to ask for matzahs soon,
Right, it looks like the Pesach, right? You tell somebody, bring me in a basin, right? But then you got to pass around the water to make sure everybody's well aware that you washed your hands, right?
Why don't you just announce it at that point?
Good, and
so
right.
This way you take away somebody else's issue of having being choshed you.
It doesn't seem like the issur of chayshid is applicable here. Right, or any of these gemaras. Doesn't seem like
you spritz them with your wet hands.
That I think
right, that's it. Though, you're right.
Yeah, that's really going to make a peaceful meal. But it's an amazing thing. There must be these high pressure meals where everybody's busy analyzing everybody else, right?
That's because they never got a piece of meat from parrots. Otherwise, they'd be looking at the meat. And they wouldn't worry about what's going on by the enemy.
It's wild. I don't know. These gemaras are taka wild. Anyways, okay. So that's what you're supposed to do. Make sure nobody's chayshid you and wash your hands. Fine. Amar Rav Chisda lo yamar ela
And it
lishtos.
could be. It
Yeah.
could be also this Gemara is talking about the balabas, and he has archim. I mean, it's the archim would focus on him. This guy, he invited a bunch of guests, and he leaves them alone for an hour, goes to shmooze with another friend. So he comes back. Everyone's like, "Oh, it must be something good here. What happened?" They're all focused on him. The dafka. If it was anyone else, it would be maybe they could wash outside.
I hear.
Are you saying that they didn't start the Suda yet?
No, why?
Because
Why
if
would
they
you
started
say
the
that?
Suda already, he would have washed before he went out, no?
No, we're talking about where he washed. He has to wash again.
But if he washed
He
with
was-
everybody else there and everybody saw him and he's a balabas, as Gershi says, and he's being motzi everybody with hamotzi, they saw him wash to begin with. So what's the chshad?
Then he
here?
went
That's why
out for an hour.
So what?
If he went out, I would be eating those baby lamb chops that he left.
Exactly. Like, who cares he went out for an hour? He didn't go out for
Yeah,
72 minutes.
exactly.
That's a big deal. So he comes back, he doesn't wash? Of course he doesn't wash. He's mitten Suda. What's the whole Gemara? I don't understand.
No, he has to wash. He has a
He
hesachadas.
washed?
He has to start again. That's not the point. The point is that they have to see him wash because of his hands. Yodei melachlachis, because there's a
if he was-
chazaka.
let's just say he was in the bathroom for an hour. He has to
Oh,
come
you
back
need
and
to
wash
wash.
his
You
hands
know,
again?
you're 100%. The truth be told is me'ikar adin. If you go to the bathroom gedolim in the middle of a suda,
Mm-hmm.
thank you for reminding me, Tak. I wanted to discuss it. If you go for ketanim, you have to wash your hands like you're washing for bread, and you don't make a bracha. For gedolim, you do make a bracha. That's the Mishnah Brura's own chiddush, because the steerers in the paiskim. This is the Mishnah Brura's own chiddush, which the Chazon Ish says it's very big chiddush to make this up on your own if it's not in any of the Rishonim to differentiate between the two. So the Chazon Ish is quoted. I think I saw that in the Dirshu that it says that you don't make a bracha, but if somebody does make a bracha, you don't. It's not a bracha levatala. So me'ikar adin, when you go to the bathroom in the middle of the Suda Gedalim, me'ikar adin, you really have to make a new natilas yadayim, right? But I never heard of anybody making sure that they wash their hands in the dining room. I don't know what happened to this chashash. As far as I know, it's not brought in Shulchan Aruch, right? Anyways, okay, so that's sugi. So Amar Rav Chisda lo yamar ela lishtos. This is only talking about if you're only coming in to sit down to drink, meaning by their meals, like the Rambam I think says in his diet, don't eat during the meal, just eat after the meal. So this is talking about when you're washing your hands in order to eat, all you're doing is drinking. So why do you have to wash your hands for? You're not eating bread, right? So Rashi says the reason why you have to wash is because maybe you're going to end up eating a piece of bread. So meaning this din is even if you go, let's say you're up to dessert and you go to the bathroom, do you have to wash your hands? Yes, you do, because there's a chashash, you might eat more bread. Right? So, but you only have to make sure that you're washing your hands in front of everybody. That's if you're drinking. But if you're eating, then you wash your hands outside with nichnas, and then you could come inside. The meidi yadiyah, because everybody knows the anina daite. Everybody knows that when you're eating, everybody wants to wash their hands. Once you leave the table for cleanliness, for hygienic purposes, everybody knows you're going to wash your hands, so nobody's going to be chayshid you. Which again, you see that they're chayshid you for not being a frum person. They're not chayshid you for not being hygienic. Right? So it seems like it's a frumkeit issue type situation. But everybody says, me, even to drink, everybody knows that I'm very finicky, and they all know for sure that I'm going to wash my hands once I go out to the bathroom or go out to schmooze. So therefore, I don't have to wash my hands in front of everybody because nobody's chayshid that he's not gonna wash his hands. Yeah, fine. Okay, Zog the Mishnah.
I guess that's what the Rambam says it's a big thing to have archim, because who wants to have archim? Who wants? Oh, well, I got these guys. I invited to give them. I'm giving a mistake, and they're hacking me a cup. They're watching what I do by my house. Who needs them in my house? These guys.
Yeah, and that's that's I don't know. This could be even family members. It doesn't necessarily mean it's guests, right? Okay, so Zog the Mishnah.
Then make sure where you send your teenage sons to yeshiva out of town. You better make sure where you send them.
Baron, it's a good thing your Adam is not on tonight.
I was gonna say this is why I moved out of New York. There was too much pressure when I had guests.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's why you should eat supper on the beach, Yuri. I told you need to know where the beach is.
I'll work on it.
Yeah. Okay. So Zog the Mishnah. Yeah. Nobody's allowed to go into the Azara, even if you're tar, until you go to the mikvah. Right? Chomesh tevilas. There were the kohen Gadol dunked 5 times. Vasara kedushin, and he made his hands kaddish 10 times. Right? Kaddish meaning he washed his hands and his feet before and after every change of clothing. Did I read that right? Chomesh tevilas vasara kedushin toivel kohen Gadol umekadesh boy b'yoyim. Right? And he makes himself kaddish that day. The kulan b'kodesh al Beis Haparva, and all the tevilas are in the kodesh in the Beis Haparva, right? Which we had said before. That's on the roof of the Beis Haparva. Chutz mizu bilvad, except for the first one, right? The first one he did in the regular chutzner. Parsu sadan shel butz bein eloheinu, and they spread out a sheet of what do you call it? What's butz again? Linen between him and everybody else. The Gemara is going to discuss why it had to be linen. Yeah, fine. So that's a Mishnah. So Gemara asks, Shalos ben Zayma. They ask Ben Zayma, tevila zu lama. Why do you need this tevila for? I mean, why does a kohen have to go to the mikvah, right? If he knows he's tar. Amar lehem, so Ben Zayma told them, Uma hameshane. If somebody who changes from one kodesh to another, meaning the kohen Gadol goes from the kodesh to the kodesh HaKadoshim, and he goes from a place where there would be punishment of kares to a place of punishment of kares. Ton tevila, he needs the mikvah, right? So the kohen, every time he's alternating between the kodesh and kodesh HaKadoshim, he needs to go to the mikvah. Somebody who changes from chol to kodesh, and he goes from a place that there's no einish kares if you go in there, and he's going to the kodesh HaKadoshim where there is an einish kares. Isn't a kavachayim that you should need tevila? So Ben Zayma basically says that you need tevila even if you're tar because it's a kavachayim, right? If Yudaimer srach tevila hizu, no, it's not. It's a srach tevila. It's a srach literally means where it's like another. Well, I don't know how to touch it exactly. Srach tevila means it goes along. It goes along with the tevila, meaning kadesha yiskar tuma yishana shabi yada v'yifresh. If we're going to make him go to the mikvah, then I'll say, 1 second, am I takatar? And then he's going to remember that maybe because he's going to the mikvah, that's going to serve as a reminder to him. Hey, maybe I'm tamei taka, and I can't be going into the Beis Hamikdash. Yeah. But so what are these two shittas? What's Ben Zayma and Rehuda having a machlokes about? On Tomei Beis. Their machlokes is whether if the kohen taka goes into the Beis Hamikdash without first teviling, and then he does an avodah, is that avodah possible or not? The Ben Zayma machil avodah. According to Ben Zayma, since it's a gzeira shava, that means it's almost a deraisa. Therefore, if he does an avodah, it's no good. Rabbi Yehuda loy machil avodah. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it's not machil, right? Meaning not. I don't see machil. It means it's not. It's not chulin, meaning the avodah is still kosher, because all it is there to serve as a reminder, to remind the guy, hey taka, am I really tar? Right? Fine. Well, Ben Zayma, now the Gemara is going to ask pretty much back and forth kashas for the rest of the Amud on Ben Zayma. Well, Ben Zayma, mi machal. According to Ben Zayma, is the avodah that the kohen does without going to the mikvah taka no good? Vatanya kohen Gadol shaloi tava v'lo kiddush. Kohen Gadol who didn't tevel himself, right? And he wasn't mekadosh his hands, bein beged lebeged, right? Because when he changes from clothing to clothing, that's when he washes his hands and his feet. Ubein avodah lavodah, between avodah lavodah, avodah sekshera, his avodah is still kosher. Echad kohen v'echad kohen hedjit. I'm sorry, echad kohen Gadol, echad kohen hedjit. It's whether it's a kohen gadol or kohen hedge. Shaloi kiddush yada v'ragel of shachris, over avodah avodah psula. But if he was not mekadosh his hands and his feet shachris, and he did the avodah, then his avodah is psula. Right? So you see clearly from this brisa that the avodah that he does without going to the mikvah is not going to passel it. Yeah. So the Gemara answers Ella. So it's not going to passel it. Ella lemekam basei kamifugi. The question is his if the kohen does the avodah without first going to the mikvah, is that going to make him be over on the mitzvah saseh? The Ben Zayma kohen basei. According to Ben Zayma, who learns it out from a Kal V'Chomer, he's going to be over on a mitzvah saseh. Rabbi Yehuda like kohen basei. According to Rabbi Yehuda, he's not going to be over on an aseh because all it was there for was just to remind him. So Gemara says, "Me Israel Rabbi Yehuda, high svara." Does Rabbi Yehuda really hold to the svara? Right? That meaning that anybody that goes to the Beis Hamikdash has to tevil himself first. But Tanya Mitzayra tevel ba'imid. A Mitzayra tevils himself, meaning on his 7th day, and then he ba'imid b'shar nikanor. And then what does he do? He stands in the shar nikanor. Yeah, basically what happens is after the kohen gadol, after the Mitzayra gets healed, he comes to the Beis Hamikdash, and the kohen has to check him out if he's good. And it goes 7 days after that. So then he has to shave all the hair on his body, and he goes to the mikvah. And then at that night, Bashkiya is going to be tar. And then the next day, he brings the karbanos. First, he's toivel. Then he stands by Shar Nikanor, and he sticks his hand and foot into the Shar Nikanor. And then they put the blood on his thumb. That's basically what happens. So we're saying, does Rabbi Yehuda hold that you can't go into the Beis Hamikdash without the mikvah?
It's only on his thumb. It's only on his thumb.
Isn't it?
No, so isn't all his right stuff?
Right, the right hand,
His
the foot.
earlobe.
The foot, the
Right.
ear,
Everything on the
foot.
right, all the right stuff, foot,
Yeah.
hand. Yeah, but I thought
That's right.
yeah. So anyway, so does Rabbi Yehuda take a hold that you have to do tevila again? He's toivel and then he stands in shar nikanor. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer ain't it tzarich tevila. He doesn't need to be toivel himself. Shekvar tovel mi be'erev. He toiveled in the evening. Right now, he's going to stick his hands in there into the Beis Hamikdash, into the kodesh, not into the kodesh, into the Hazorah. So if he's going to stick his hands into the Hazorah, why doesn't he have to be toivel again, even though he knows he's tar? So Rabbi Yehuda says he doesn't have to because he knows he's tar from yesterday. Yeah. So Gemara answers no, but that's different. Ahu k'datani taima. There it's because it's as it says. Shekvav tovel mi be'erev. He was tovel mi be'erev. So since it was tovel mi be'erev, that's why he doesn't need to toivel the next day. But somebody else, even if he knows he's tar, would have to be toivel. So then the Gemara says, meaning, when you go back to the first line of the Gemara, they asked Ben Zayma, why is it that you need tefillah? Right? So it's asking, so what was the question? It says it beferish in the brisa. That's the way Rashi explains this question. Right? Right? It's beferish. It's beferish why you need to toivel. So the Gemara says, no, I wanted to ask a different brisa on Ben Zayma. What was the brisa? Lishka Samit Tzarayin. So the room that they kept all the people with tzaras in it, right? Shasham Mitzaran Toivel, and in that room the Mitzaran Toivel. So Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, Loi Mitzaran Bilvad Amru. Not only did the Mitzaran Toivel themselves, Ela Kol Adam. So everybody Toivel themselves, right? So now that's a stira to the brisa we just learned. In this brisa, Rabbi Yehuda is saying even the Mitzaran have to toivel themselves again before sticking out their hands. And we just learned the brisa, right, 5 lines ago, that you don't have to re-toivel on the 8th day. The tefillah from the 7th day is good enough. So what it says, like kasha had the tovel, had the light tovel. No, one is talking about where he did the tefillah already. One is talking about where he didn't do the tefillah. So the Gemara says, well, how could that be? We know that whenever it is that you do the tefillah, you need to wait till shkia to become tar. So either like tovel, harav shemesh ba'i, you need shkia, right? Which would mean if he wasn't tevil on the 7th day, so he has to tevil according to on the 8th day, but now he's going to need Erev Shemesh, meaning everything should get pushed off a day. So Gemara answers, the tevil. No, they're both talking about we tevil. Hada asach daite, hada lo asach daite. One is someone who was Masiach Das. He was Masiach Das from making sure that he stays tar, and Memeli has to tevil again. And one is talking about where he was not Masiach Das. So I don't know what that means. That means he couldn't sleep that night, right? L'chayra. Sleeping is a hesach das. Again, the Mitzvah is teviling on the 7th day. Yehuda says he doesn't have to tevel on the 8th day because he already tevel on the 7th day. That means that he couldn't have slept. You can't. That's called hesach das. But anyways, the Gemara has a different kasha. If he was Masiach das, hazah shlishi v'shvi boy, right? Is a wild chumrah. Then he really is going to need, if he was Masiach Das from his tumah, then he's going to need to get sprinkled on the 3rd and the 7th day. If somebody's Masiach Das from his Taira, would have to be chayshed that maybe he touched a mace. And if he touched a mace, he's going to have to sprinkle on the 3rd and the 7th day. So Mora answers, so how could that be that he's Masiach Das? Can't be he's Masiach Das. Otherwise, he's going to have to be out for another week. They're both talking about where he was a Masiach Das. Kasha, one is talking about where he toveled with the Das to go into the Beis Hamikdash. So Mamela, that's good enough. And one is talking about where he was not toveled with the Das to go into the Beis Hamikdash. Tani. We're not talking about Mitzaran. It's talking about everybody else, right? So it's not specific to the Mitzaran. So that answers up the stira. Fine. Ravina says another teretz. Rabbi Yehuda is not going according to his own opinion that doesn't need tevila. He's going according to the Rabbanon. That what? According to me, a Mitzvah doesn't need a second tefillah. They said, "Cool, iduli, easy mias, right? But you should at least be minded to me. You should at least agree to me. That not only should it be for the Mitzvah, ela kol adam, right? Everybody should need tefillah, right? Meaning, Rabbi Yehuda understood that the Tanakama said that the only Mitzarim need tefillah again. Why? According to Rabbanon, everybody needs tefillah before they go into the Beis Hamikdash. Rabbanon, Mitzayra, the Yayish Betuma, a Mitzayra who's in Tuma, so he needs a new tefillah. Kol Adam Loidai Betuma, but everybody else is not in Tuma. So since they're not so involved in the Tuma, then they don't need to tefillah themselves. Yeah. So Amalei Abayil Rav Yosef, name Rabbanon. Let's stop here because this is a new sugya. It goes to the end. So bottom line is that we have a machlokes from Yehuda and Ben Zayma. Well, I mean, why you need tefillah to go into the Beis Hamikdash, but everybody lemaisa needs tefillah before they go into the Beis Hamikdash. Rabbi Yehuda though holds a mitzayra who tevel on the 7th day does not need a new tefillah on the 8th day, right? And it seems like the Rabbanan would agree too, and then having machlokes on regular people. Right, and whether they would need another tefillah. Yeah. All right. Fine. Good to know. We finished not bad. Wow.
Oh yeah.
All right. Zagazund.
Okay. Shkoya.
There goes.
Yeah. What's going on, parents?
I meant to ask a Shiloh before. The kohen starts from the pants down. Isn't that fakert from how we're supposed to get dressed?
Yes, it's a very good point. Yes, Tak, it's a good kasha. It's a good kasha.
I was speaking to Rabbi Smolowitz about it. I don't know how we got into it by the bike-a-thon. I said, I meant to ask this on the daf, but I didn't. It needs a little salt. Yeah, it's for you. You gotta see this.
Man, what you got going over there?
Well, that was good. What's that for, Yantif?
We'll cover the Rosh Chodesh. It's somebody who doesn't read the tweets. Don't talk.
He never reads the tweets.
I
He
mean,
never I can't even
true.
tell you how many times he asks the
That's
question.
not fair. That's so not fair.
A little salt in the middle, no?
That is so not
Such a
fair. I
follower
read them
doesn't
at
follow your
night.
tweets.
Right here. Hello.
Can you imagine that, Naftali Landau?
Cannot
Naftali,
believe
you
it.
should not be embarrassed with yourself.
This is
Naftali.
blasphemy. I gotta call Dobie right now.
With there you go.
Oh, it just comes in.
This is
Yeah, why did you? I heard Mordechai Stein was eating
Little
red
bit.
chimichurri
high up.
the other day.
That's it. Good. Perfect.
And
Yeah,
took a picture
for
you,
what?
Melania.
He wasn't. He said Mordechai sent me a picture of Dovi Langer there.
And how did he get the picture if he wasn't eating there himself?
He wasn't eating there.
He was eating there.
Eretz, maybe stop recording.
Why? The Vod said you could eat there now.
Oh yeah?
Really?
I don't know, there was a letter circulating last week that it wasn't signed, so maybe it's not true.
No, it's not true.
No way. No way.
Jacob, you saw the letter last week?
What did the letter say?
Well, the letter said that they made a mistake and Rabbi Silberg's a Talmud Chacham and there should be no fighting in light of their own.
Whoa. Stop the recording. Stop the recording.
I've told you what's the matter. You're nervous from a Jaeger may hear you say a comment?
I'll tell you.